Hello everyone, and welcome back once again to Cozy Reads. I hope you've all been keeping well. Thank you for joining me again for another story. In today's story, we will carry on with the tale of Regalion. As Scarlett and Jezebel arrive at Scarlett's mysterious friend's house, they get to see another side to life, while also learning a bit more about the underworld and its inhabitants. Will these friends be able to help against the coming tide and ebb the flow of war? Only time will tell. And who are these two fine playthings who have decided to bless my grounds with their presence? The voice echoed across the courtyard. You want to say that again? Eh? Who are you calling plaything? Come down here and say that to my face, you disgusting little creep. I'm gonna... Jezebel screamed at the individual, rage building up so much that a vein started popping up on her head. Oh, it seems this one has some bite. A gust of sharp wind then shot its way to Jezebel and sliced her cheek. She could dodge it, but not before exasperating old wounds. Scarlett just looked on, biding her time and waiting for the situation to calm down. Wait, is that... Oh damn, I'm so sorry, Miss Scarlett. I did not realize that this was your guest. Please, allow yourselves in. I'll have a team of doctors ready to tend to your wounds. The individual called, his voice almost shrinking from its earlier iteration. Come on Jezebel, let's go. While our host can be a bit misguided and lewd, he's not a bad guy, so play nice for now. No pun intended. Scarlett said as the gates opened and both girls made their way inside. Jezebel was still visibly angry, but she decided to trust Scarlett and not start a fight. At least not yet. As they entered the grand entrance hall of a most enigmatic building, Jezebel couldn't help but feel a little overwhelmed at the wonder and grandeur of the interior. The entrance hall itself stretched for what seemed like miles, with doors aligning on each side. On the right, there was a huge welcoming area, complete with a homely fireplace, a table that could seat a whole family, extended and all, and the comfiest couches Jezebel had ever seen. Sprawled about the walls were paintings seemingly as old as time, depicting ancient works, yet with a nuanced, modern feel to them, almost as if they'd been painted by a historic time traveller who came to our generation and then crafted a painting from his own time. Jezebel was overwhelmed, but also amazed. There were little tables strewn about the hallway and the welcome area. On these tables were the most priceless vases Jezebel had ever seen. She hated to admit it, but she did like the vases, even if they seemed expensive enough that breaking one would probably put you into multiple lifetimes of servitude to pay back damages on the vase. As they followed the man from earlier, whom Jezebel had presumed was the owner of the mansion, Scarlett and Jezebel were subjected to his incessant nattering. Jezebel was surprised that Scarlett hadn't told him to shut up, or better yet, why Scarlett hadn't punched him in the mouth. But she surmised that this was a not to look a gift horse in the mouth kind of deal. As they entered the welcome area, the individual beckoned for them to sit down. Scarlett sat as if on alert, like a guard dog ready to pounce at any moment. It always surprised but impressed Jezebel how Scarlett was always so ready, on the alert, never dropping her guard even for a moment. You can sit as well, my dear. No need to feel shy. We're all friends here, unless you're looking for something a bit more carnal, the individual said, and as he said those last words, Jezebel could hear a little eroticism in his voice, and she immediately sat down, for fear that he would start slewing more innuendos. No thanks, this seat is more than adequate, Jezebel said, trying to be polite while containing her anger. Scarlett smiled as if in amusement, but she remained composed, not giving away her true thoughts. So, Seraph, let's get down to business. We're not here for a tea visit. You know why we're here, and we have some information that would be of great use to you, Scarlett said to Seraph, who kept glancing over at Jezebel. Okay, I apologize for my behavior. It's just, I've never met one as intriguing as your friend here, Seraph said, motioning to Jezebel. She is a very good friend, one who is not available now, and one whom I suspect would much rather break your arm before letting you touch her. Scarlett replied without breaking gaze from Seraph. Jezebel smiled and tilted her head a bit, smirking at Seraph. Yes, you're right. I apologize again. Since our last talk, Scarlett, I've noticed more of what you were telling me about. The Reapers are acting shady, bolstering their ranks and becoming more aggressive. I fear you may be right in assuming that they are planning to make a move. I've been working with some of my contacts, and I've been able to get some people onto our side. They aren't, for want of a better way of putting it, a private army, but they are highly skilled in their respective fields. Seraph replied, now more serious than before. A maid walked into the room carrying tea, with 3 teacups laid neatly on the tray. She cut the tension with a smile, one directed straight at Scarlett, to which Scarlett smiled back. Thank you, Katrina. You may leave now, Seraph said while pouring the tea into a cup. The maid nodded, and again looked at Scarlett, smiling before she left. Jezebel picked up on this, but didn't pay it any mind. You know, you're all she talks about, Miss Scarlett. I don't know what you did, but you truly impressed her, Seraph said while putting sugar cubes in his tea and slowly stirring the contents of the cup. Scarlett went a little red and replied, I don't know what you're talking about. Anyway, when we will be able to meet this ragtag team that you've been putting together? We are running out of time, and the situation is more dire than we thought. Jezebel was a little shocked at Scarlett's embarrassment, but she kept her cool. She knew what Scarlett was talking about. They didn't have time to mess around playing reality TV. Things were bad, and if they were going to make a move, they needed to make it now. I fear that there is more to this than just the Reapers. Am I right? Seraph said while looking over at Scarlett. Yes. Our opponents aren't just the Reapers anymore. We now have the Daemon to contend with, Scarlett replied. Wait, but we've always had the Daemon as our enemy. That's nothing new, Seraph responded, a little confused. Yes, we have always had Daemon as our enemy, but now there is more we do not know. For example, we do not usually face Alpha Daemon. They only come out sometimes, and usually it takes either a very powerful individual or a small army of Reapers to even contend against them. But now, we have Supreme Alpha Daemon coming out. These are exceptionally powerful Daemon in a league of their own. If the Alpha Daemon is a manager of a company, then the Supreme Alpha Daemon are the directors. To even contend against one is incredibly difficult. It will take multiple powerful individuals and a small army to even stand a chance, Scarlett said, her voice unwavering, but the seriousness of the situation was apparent. Exactly, and that's how we got these injuries, Jezebel highlighted. We faced a Supreme Alpha, or more, we ran from one, along with 2 high-ranking Reapers. We weren't even able to stand a chance. Our only hope was to run. The Reapers were fighting the Alpha Daemon, but even they were having a difficult time keeping up. We're not too sure how the fight ended, but what I can be of certain is that we'll be seeing them again. I doubt neither side died there, Jezebel further explained while holding her arm and thinking back to their encounter. Jezebel knew not to show her hand straight away, so she strayed from mentioning the staff. The room paused for a moment, letting all of this sink in. Scarlett was still unwavering. She didn't let her face show what she was thinking, but she was working out how they were going to contend with the enemy. She also thought about her sister. When times were bad, her mind would unknowingly think back to her little sister's smile, and the little sister's enthusiasm and optimism. Scarlett was sometimes jealous of how bright and exuberant her sister was, and she wished that somehow she could be like that she could instill hope and courage into those around her, that she could live up to the forever faith of a brighter future. Not knowing that she already instilled those emotions and more into the hearts of the people around her, by being unwavering and faltering and incredibly courageous, others followed her into battle, knowing that if she could fight on so fervently, then they could too. Jezebel was still clutching her arm, but she decided to look around to admire the decor of the room. What caught her attention was the window. She stared wistfully outside, mesmerized by the sprawling garden and the beautiful sun as it lit up the earth. She thought of the people, the ones in the towns and cities spread across Regalion. She wondered if any of them even knew of what was going on. Even the woman and man on the train, as rude as they were, did they know that Supreme Alpha Daemon even existed? Did they know how their lives could be flipped and sent into disarray in a matter of moments? But did they even care? Would they even react to any of this? She thought about how nice it must be to live in blissful awareness, to not be shackled by the knowledge that your whole world could be flipped upside down in a matter of moments. It made this even more real. Jezebel took her training for granted. She didn't realise the severity of the situation, and she trained without truly knowing why. It was more real, far more real, having not only seen, but also faced the Supreme Alpha Daemon. Jezebel knew that she wasn't just fighting to keep her and her family alive. She was fighting to keep Regalion alive, to keep Suprema alive. She felt a weight on her shoulders, one that seemed to push down even harder the more she thought about it. She felt like crying, but she knew that they did not have time nor the emotional leverage to cry. This situation was serious, so much so that they had to figure it out now, and they had to steel their nerves and fight on. Seraph looked down at his tea while stirring it. He thought about his family, about everything not only him but also his ancestors had gone through to build a life for themselves. He thought about those he wanted to protect, about the people who worked in his house and how close he was to them. He thought about the Reapers and how he never truly trusted them, how his grandparents and parents were killed trying to defy them, how the only person now who he could see himself truly fighting side by side with was Scarlett, a Reaper turned traitor, someone with a vendetta on the very same people he despised. He looked up and thought about those traitorous bastards running the country, hidden behind all the fighting and strife, away from it all, not having to witness the horrors of man, but still profiting from it. Zarath's family had acquired their wealth by building a massive timber empire, or rather this was one of their many fronts. In reality, his family's true business was contracting. Zarath's family, for a very long time, had secretly owned one of Suprema's leading, but mostly secretive private military companies. Due to this, they gained contracts from bounty hunters to cultists. Thinking on this now, Zarath felt that his family's company could do better. By bringing together the contacts that his family had built up over the years, they could finally have a force to combat the Reapers. Zarath then looked over at both Jezebel and Scarlett. He thought about how solemn but beautiful Jezebel was. He tried not to stare, but her beauty enchanted him. Jezebel caught his eye and gave him an annoyed look, causing him to look away. In his haste, he glanced over at Scarlett. Scarlett looked incredibly battle-hardened. She had scars on her face, and her body resembled that of an athlete. She was built, and she looked strong, muscular yet nimble. Zarath could easily tell that Scarlett was not one to be messed with. To be honest, she scared him a bit, but he also respected her as well, and he knew that Scarlett had a soft side, but only certain people could bring it out. And for whatever reason, Katrina was one of those people. Zarath knew that the last time Scarlett was here, she and Katrina got together, and he was happy that Scarlett had found someone who could at least warm that icy composure. The silence in the room was broken by the door opening, and the cling-clang of medical equipment being brought into the room. All three of them looked over at the doctor and nurses who had entered the room, followed by Katrina, who was carrying a rather heavy medical bag. She was struggling a bit, and this prompted Scarlett to quickly jump up, run over and grab the bag with one hand. "Be careful, that's a heavy bag," the doctor called, but Scarlett already had the bag in her hand and was carrying it over to the table. Thank you, Miss Scarlett." Katrina bowed to say thanks, and Scarlett blushed. She scratched the back of her head and told Katrina not to worry about the bag, because it wasn't that heavy. The doctor looked over in amazement, shocked that someone with Scarlett's wounds was even moving as quickly as she was, and that she was able to carry such a heavy bag with one hand. Even the doctor needed two hands to carry the bag, and even then he struggled with it. Katrina turned around to leave again, after the doctor thanked her for the help. "Katrina, feel free to stay and help to mend Scarlett's wounds. I know you probably won't rest until you know she's safe," Zarath said. Katrina blushed and Scarlett walked over to her and took her hand. They both walked over to the couch and Katrina stood by Scarlett, helping the doctor to properly tend to her wounds. Scarlett looked up at Katrina, and Katrina blushed and looked away, their emotions almost filling the room with warmth. The two nurses were over at Jezebel, checking her and tending to her wounds. Scarlett's wounds were more severe than Jezebel's, and the doctor had to work quickly to ensure that there was no lasting effects. After some time, the doctor stood up and the nurse wiped his brow. Well, you're both incredibly lucky. Any longer and you would have run the risk of infection. I'm surprised that both of you are still even conscious, but I guess I wouldn't expect anything less from the great Scarlett and her apprentice. The doctor laughed and then packed up his things. Katrina looked over at his medical bag, looking a little worried. Scarlett already anticipated that Katrina would attempt to pick up the bag without asking for help. She stood up to pick up the bag. She felt a little woozy, but she tried to ignore it. It's fine, I've got the bag now. You should rest. The doctor then picked up the bag with both hands and started to carry it out of the room. Scarlett and Jezebel thanked the medical team, and Seraph thanked the doctor for coming out. Katrina then bent down and kissed Scarlett before getting ready to leave. The surprise kiss caused Scarlett to blush, and Katrina let out a giggle. Jezebel also laughed, and so did Seraph, and the doctor along with the rest of the medical team. I'm sorry for surprising you like that, but I've been wanting to kiss you ever since I saw you again. Anyway, I'll make sure that both your rooms are ready. Katrina then picked up the briefcase that was left by the doctor, and she happily took the medical bag from the doctor, carrying it with ease, using the excuse that the kiss gave her super strength. She then followed the medical team out. Well, she seems nice. She's hot too, and playful. It seems that she was able to carry that bag with no issue. Nice one, Scarlett. Seems you've hit the trifecta, Jezebel said before friendly punching Scarlett's arm. Scarlett let out a tiny giggle but quickly tried to compose herself. This again caused Jezebel and Seraph to laugh. Well, on that note, I guess it's time I give you both the grand tour while dinner is being made. Seraph said while getting up and opening the door, outstretching his arm and motioning for them to go through. Well, I have to admit, Scarlett, I've heard the phrase friends in high places, but this is something else. Who is this guy and how did he do that wind trick before? Jezebel said. She and Scarlett were standing outside Scarlett's room, while Katrina finished off cleaning. Seraph had given them the tour of the building, and Jezebel was utterly infatuated with the place. She normally despises such a show of wealth, but this house somehow seemed almost homely, harbouring an old country feel. And that brings chapter 13 of this story to an end. I hope you have all been enjoying the series. Seraph can come across as crass and rude, especially towards Jezebel. Coming from the privilege he has and due to his personality, he ends up developing a rather warped view of wooing and protecting someone he's attracted to. Luckily, Jezebel is not one to be messed with, and she can put him back in his place when the need arises. Either way, with Seraph now in the picture, Scarlett hopes that she can convince him to join the coming fight. As while it is all speculation, her and Jezebel's encounter with the Supreme Alpha Daemon and the Reapers show that something is coming, and they will need as many people on their side as possible. But until then, I hope you're all sufficiently warmed up, and that this story has brought you some level of comfort. I wish you safe travels on the journey of life, and feel free to come back again whenever you need a new story to warm your day.